Chapter 2 Arrival. How much further? Anakin asks Admiral Yularen. The navicomputer indicates we only have 1 parsec to go, General, the Admiral responds. Anakin nods and walks towards the viewport window, where Ahsoka is waiting. Hey, Snips, what's on your mind? He asks. I just can't believe we're really doing this. I mean, so far as we know, nobody's ever traveled to another galaxy, Ahsoka says. I know, Ahsoka. But if this world that the Confederacy is after is real, then they're going to need our help, Anakin responds. What if they've never had visitors from outside their planet before? What if they try and attack us on sight? Ahsoka asks. Well, we'll figure it out, Anakin responds. The two continue to watch out of the viewport. Finally, a clone commander says, General Skywalker, we'll be coming out of hyperspace in a few moments. We'll be emerging out of hyperspace near the 5th planet of the system. The target planet is the 3rd planet in the system. Understood, Anakin responds. After a few more moments, the Resolute and the rest of Anakin's task force drop out of hyperspace. Off their starboard side, they can see a red planet with a number of moons surrounding it. Do we have any record of the names of the planets in this system? Anakin asks. He already knows the answer, but feels he may as well ask. No, General, Admiral Yularen responds. Anakin just nods in response. The task force continues closer to the system star, passing through an asteroid field and another smaller red planet. Finally, after an agonizing wait, a planet emerges up ahead. A beautiful planet with multiple green continents and vast blue oceans. Admiral, is that the planet up ahead? Anakin asks. Yes, sir, Admiral Yularen responds. All right, set up in a very high orbit over the planet. I'll take the Twilight down to the surface with Ahsoka and a few clones. Admiral, you hold the task force in position above the planet. We don't want to scare the locals too much. So only take action if we are captured and it is clear that the locals are hostile. Understood? Anakin says. Yes, sir, the Admiral says again. Come on, Snips, Anakin says. And he and Ahsoka leave the bridge and start heading down to the hangar bay. Once they reach the hangar bay, they find Captain Rex, along with 5s and 8 other clones waiting for them next to the Twilight. All right, General, you ready to go pay this planet a visit? Rex asks as the 2 Jedi approach. Of course, but make sure to be nice to the locals, Anakin adds with a smile before leading Ahsoka and the clones onto the ship. The clones settle in the back, while Ahsoka and Rex accompany Anakin up to the cockpit, along with R2. Anakin powers up the ship and waits for the hangar bay to open. After about another 15 minutes, the bay finally opens. General, you are clear to leave and make your descent to the planet, Admiral Yularen calls over the radio. Copy that, Admiral, Anakin says. He slowly pulls the Twilight up and out of the hangar bay. The small ship descends towards the planet. As they begin to enter the atmosphere, Ahsoka realizes just how beautiful this planet is. As she scans the planet, she also realizes how diverse the planet is. She can see areas that are clearly forested, some areas that are plains, some areas that are deserts, and some areas that are clearly covered in snow. It seems like there are so many biomes, Master, Ahsoka says as they descend into the atmosphere and head towards one of the continents. I know, Snips, Anakin says as he pilots the ship down towards the ground. Anakin continues to descend the ship towards the ground as Ahsoka scans the instruments. One is calculating their altitude over the planet. As the height on the instrument reaches 35,000 feet, a beep suddenly gets Ahsoka's attention. Looking over at their scanners, Ahsoka sees 2 blips approaching them at high speed from the rear. Master? Ahsoka says, pointing towards the scanner. Anakin looks down at it, and his gaze hardens as the scanner shows one of the blips drifting behind the Twilight, while the other approaches closer. Suddenly, movement out of their right side window catches their eye. Anakin, Ahsoka, and Rex all look out of the window and see a strange craft flying in close formation with them. The rear half of the craft is not visible, hidden beyond the range of view of the window. The forward part, which they can see, is designed unlike any craft they know of. The cockpit is surrounded by a large bubble canopy. In the cockpit, the pilot, his face hidden behind a visor and a mask, stares back at them. "What do they want?" Ahsoka asks. "Probably nervous about who we are," Anakin responds. Suddenly, their radio crackles to life. "Unidentified flying object. This is Captain Cesar Rodriguez of the United States Air Force, currently flying off your right side. Identify yourself and state your intentions, or you will be considered hostile and shot down." Anakin quickly gets on the radio. "Attention! This is General Anakin Skywalker of the Galactic Republic. We have come in peace to set up communication with your planet and warn you of an impending attack." There is quiet for a few moments before the so-called Rodriguez replies, "Stand by." There is quiet for almost a minute. Then Rodriguez comes over the radio again. "Unidentified flying object. This is Captain Rodriguez. I have orders to escort you back to my base. You will follow me back to my base. You will take no other course besides the one needed to follow me. Should you deviate from following me, or try anything stupid, my wingman and 4 other fighters within 20 miles of us have permission to shoot you down." "Understood," Anakin responds. To their right, the pilot they assume is Rodriguez nods once to them. Then the fighter pulls ahead, revealing the rest of it. The fighter is powerfully built. It has 2 engines that look far different from any starfighter engines they know of. At the end of the fighter, it has 2 vertical structures. It has no laser cannons, yet several weapons hanging under the body of the fighter that look a lot like missiles. The fighter pulls ahead of them by about half a mile, then banks slightly to the left and noses down slightly. Anakin follows it, heading down towards the ground. As they pass through 10,000 feet and continue down, they begin to see definite signs of civilization. They see large cities spread out across the land below them, and smaller settlements as well. "Well, they do seem rather advanced for a planet that hasn't figured out space travel, at least compared to what we've seen," Ahsoka says. "Well, we'll see about that, Ahsoka," Anakin responds. Anakin continues to follow the fighter ahead of him. After about 15 more minutes, they see what looks like a large airbase just up ahead. Sure enough, the fighter leading them heads straight for the base. Anakin follows close behind. The fighter flies low over the base. Anakin follows it and sees a massive circle of people, whatever kind of creatures these are, down on the ground. One individual, holding torches of some kind, is trying to wave them down. "I guess that's where they want us to land," Ahsoka says. "Probably. Rex, go tell the clones we'll be landing soon. Tell them to gear up, but do not take any aggressive action once we disembark," Anakin says. "Understood, General," Rex says before walking into the back. Anakin circles around and heads for the spot. The individual with the torches guides him in. Anakin flies right into the center of the circle and touches down. As the ship touches down, Anakin quickly powers it down, then turns to Ahsoka and says, "Come on." The 2 stand up, and along with R2, walk into the back, where Rex and the other clones are all waiting. "All right, guys, let's make first contact with this planet," Anakin says. The clones all nod. Anakin then walks over to the hatch, takes a deep breath, and opens the hatch. Anakin and Ahsoka slowly step out of the hatch. Before they even have a chance to get their bearings, they hear, "Put your hands in the air!" Not wanting to escalate anything, they do so. Looking around, they see that the crowd is indeed humans. They're all dressed in military-type uniforms, and a number of them are holding weapons that look like slug throwers and aiming them at them and the ship. "Walk toward us slowly," a voice yells. Anakin and Ahsoka glance at each other, then back at the assembled crowd, and slowly walk towards them. The clones follow them, also with their hands in the air. The guards in the crowd slowly walk towards them, still with their weapons aimed at them. Then, a man steps out of the crowd. His insignia and medals on his chest suggest a man of high rank. The man looks at each of them harshly, then demands, "Who are you? And can you actually understand me?" "Yes, we can understand you. As for who I am, my name is Anakin Skywalker. Knight of the Jedi Order and General of the Grand Army of the Republic, Anakin says. And what is this thing next to you? The man asks. Anakin glares at the man. Before he can say anything, Ahsoka says, "The thing has a name and feelings, you know." The man just looks at her. Anakin then says, "This is my Padawan learner. Her name is Ahsoka Tano, and she is what's known as a Togruta." The man just looks at him for a moment, then demands, "What do you want? Why have you come to our planet?" "We come with a warning. We must speak with your planet's leader at once," Anakin says. "Our planet doesn't have a leader. There's almost 200 countries on this planet," the man responds. Anakin and Ahsoka quickly glance at each other before returning their gaze to the man. "Well, then, take us to your country's leader," Anakin says. The man narrows his eyes suspiciously. After a few moments, he says, "I will contact him. For the time being, you will remain here on this base under guard. Once I hear back from our president, then we will go from there." Ahsoka wants to protest, but Anakin, despite his impatience, says, "Very well. Follow my guards. I will come speak to you once I have received orders," the man says, before turning and walking away. The guards then surround Anakin, Ahsoka, R2, and the clones. Not wanting to cause a fight, all of them allow the guards to lead them into a nearby hangar. Washington, D.C., half an hour later. "Will someone please explain to me what's going on?" President George H.W. Bush asks his advisors from inside the White House Situation Room. "Mr. President, our satellites detected the arrival of 6 ships a few hours ago. They have been holding in position in a very high orbit for the last hour. Shortly after they arrived in orbit, a smaller ship, not much bigger than a fighter, apparently broke away from this force and entered the atmosphere. F-15 Eagles from the 33rd Fighter Wing out of Eglin Air Force Base intercepted the ship and apparently established contact. The ship complied with their demands and followed them back to Eglin. We have yet to hear from Eglin regarding the ship or its occupants. We can assume they will contact us soon," the National Security Advisor responds. Suddenly, one of the president's aides says, "Sir, we're getting a call from Brigadier General Rogers at Eglin." "Put him on," President Bush responds. A moment later, the voice of General Rogers, the man who had spoken to Anakin before, says over the phone, "Mr. President, this is General Rogers at Eglin Air Force Base. I have spoken to the inhabitants of the ship that landed here. Most of them seem to be human, with one of an alien species that one of the humans called a Togruta. They claim to come with a warning, and that they must speak with you immediately." "Very well. Have them flown to Washington immediately," President Bush responds. "Understood," General Rogers says before cutting off the call. President Bush looks around at everybody. "Prepare an escort to bring these visitors to the White House once they arrive. At the same time, I want all military forces at DEFCON 2. James, I want you to contact the Soviets and let them know what's going on so they don't assume the worst," he orders. The Secretary of State, James Baker, nods. "At once, Mr. President," Baker says before leaving to carry out his orders. Bush stares at the wall, wondering how this is going to turn out. That's the end of Chapter 2. Stay tuned for further chapters.